Andy?
Tell me about it, Stern.
One of the theorists who's made a name for themselves is Laura Mulvey, speaking about women's rights and women in relation to films. Hollywood mainstream narrative cinema in particular manipulates visual pleasure by coding the erotic into language of the dominant patriarchal order. The male gaze typically focuses on emphasising curves of the female body, referring to women as objects rather than people. The display of women is how men think they should be perceived. The male gaze projects fantasy on the female figure, using conventional shots and editing to portray eroticism. Typically, the camera will pan upwards and slowly to move up the woman's body until finally reaching her face, displaying her sensual curves. These women are typically in tight or short outfits. This effect gives an enigmatic approach, allowing the audience, typically men, to wonder what lies beneath. Showing him doing up his shirt and getting dressed. Normally, this would be done in quite a seductive way if this was a woman. So we've shown it with a man using similar camera technique. Within our music video, we subvert this theory in a sense that Joe is the object. So we use shots of him with his shirt off and in the shower. We are looking at it from another perspective. In a sense, we switch roles in terms of this theory, as the females are looking at Joe as the object, as in this theory the men would be looking at a woman. In a sense, we create what all men want to happen, to be desired by lots of women, when in actual fact this is like quite scary for Joe and he can't understand why it's happening. So we sort of oppose that male fantasy. In terms of sound, the song is called Need You, and the lyrics say need you 100%, meaning that it reflects the action within the film, because they are essentially chasing after him, so they do essentially need him. In terms of props theory, Joe is probably perceived as the hero because it's set from his point of view and focuses solely on his experience. He's perceived as a bit of a mummy's boy, like the shots we used of him going to the fridge and the note, things like that, sort of suggest that he's a bit of a mummy's boy and a bit of a loser, that sort of thing. And people will relate to that. Like, people will like that because he's an anti-hero in a sense. So people root for the underdog in that sense. We show him being really unlucky, for instance, the Coke can, the toast, falling down the stairs, that sort of thing, and which creates humour and a sense of schadenfreude. So people will obviously side with him because they find him unlucky, and in a sense, again, it creates that sense of anti-hero, which people like because people obviously can relate and they find that amusing. So their approach in chasing him is quite strange. So the audience may perceive that as being as them being the villains, obviously because Joe is already perceived as the hero, and the fact that the audience are rooting for him, they want him to fulfill his journey, and they are the disruption in this sense, which brings in the Todorov's theory of they are a disruption in the story. Whereas Joe at first, with the equilibrium, he was at home and although there were certain disruptions, such as the toast burning and things like that, that was in a sense what he's used to because he's quite an unlucky character. So that is his equilibrium. And the girls chasing him would be his disruption. Further disruptions would be more and more girls joining in and him finding that quite problematic, trying to escape, going different directions. The resolution would be that he wakes up, so he realises that it was all a dream, but then we sort of twist on it at the end where you find out that actually it might not have all been a dream, which adds a sense of humour because we'll have a character who you see chasing him wake up in bed with him, which will be we'll have a boy dressed up with a wig on chasing him, and that will be sort of a bit of humour at the end.
J.G. Blomer devised the uses and gratification model in 1974 to highlight 5 areas of gratification in media texts for audience. These include: one of these elements is escapism. We have elements of humour within our video. This creates escapism, as people can experience someone else's misfortune and escape from their own problems. For examples of humour, we have our main character Joe, who's going through a really bad day. He gets into a cold shower and he thinks it's hot, and it's the facial expressions that really create humour. For one scene, we have Joe on the park bench, and we have the 2 actors, Amy and Chloe, from behind, and he doesn't realise that they're there, and it's all in the facial expressions. You can really tell. It's quite funny, and that does make sense. The audience may create a relationship with my character, as I am portrayed as an unlucky and naive, which people may get a feeling of protection against me, and they may connect with the character. Also, I'm quite a likeable character, and people may relate to my unlucky life.
In terms of identifying with the character, people might see a part of themselves within Joe, so they might relate to his lifestyle, getting up, going to work. They might relate to the unluckiness, things going wrong for him. So in that sense, people can relate and identify with him. A lot of Schadenfreude is included. So the girl is chasing Joe. Joe's facial expressions are quite funny. Things going wrong, so the Schadenfreude comes in with the misfortune in his life, that sort of thing. So it's quite exaggerated. So in terms of entertainment, it's something people wouldn't have seen before.
We show the genre of dance music in multiple ways. For example, our research led us to believe that the music videos which represent the dance genre tends not to be relevant to the lyrics of the song, which is why our music video is based on a separate narrative. We decided against putting in band shots, as in our research we found that these were not commonly used within this genre. We had two options where we were going to go against the genre or go with the genre. We decided that we would go against the genre because, as we found in our research, it was more valid and we were able to gain more knowledge from it.
We wanted to portray our main character as geeky, unwanted person, also highlight the fact that he is going out to work for the first time before all of these obstacles get in his way. We thought by having the main character wearing glasses would represent his geekiness. This is a typical representation of someone who is quite original and outside the norm. With having him also in a suit, this would represent the idea of him going to work and starting his new job, and automatically a smart suit would be associated with someone who is about to go to work or starting a new job, as this is a typical dress code for an office job. Also, by having all of the girls in normal day-to-day clothes would make a connection with our audience, as it suggests that they are fashionable, and also the clothes and style would be recognised by the audience. This would also help the audience association with all the characters throughout our video.